My name is Lily. I am 26 years old. I never thought love could hurt like this. When I was younger, I believed love was always good. I believed it made people happy. But now I know love can also break your heart. My first love changed my life. He changed my heart too, but he was never really mine. I met Ryan when I was 15. He was 2 years older than me. He lived across the street. He played football with his friends. He laughed a lot. I used to watch him from my window. When he smiled, I smiled too. I liked him for a long time, but I never told him. He was my little secret. One day, he talked to me. He asked if I wanted to walk to the shop. I said yes. We bought candy and sat on a bench. That was our first time alone. I felt so happy that day. I wanted more days like that. I wanted to see him again. And we did. After that, we met almost every day. We talked about school, music, and our dreams. I always listened to him. I always wanted to be close to him. After 1 year, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes. I could not stop smiling. He was my first boyfriend. He was my first kiss. I thought he was the one for me. I told my mother about him. She said, "Be careful, Lily." I did not understand what she meant. I thought Ryan was good. I thought our love was true. We stayed together for many years. Even when he went to college, we still talked. He sent me messages every day. I waited for him to come home on weekends. He said he missed me. I believed him. He said we would get married one day. I believed that too. I never looked at other boys. I only wanted Ryan. He was my first love. He was also my best friend. After college, Ryan got a job in the city. I stayed in our town. I worked in a small cafe near my house. It was not a big job, but I liked it. I saved money and waited for Ryan to ask me to marry him. I thought he would ask soon. I had no doubt in my heart. I was ready to be his wife. One day he called and said, "Lily, I have something to ask you." I was so happy. I said, "What is it?" Then he asked, "Will you marry me?" I said yes right away. I did not think. I did not wait. I was sure he loved me. I was sure this was my dream coming true. The wedding was simple. We had it in my parents' garden. There were white flowers and music. I wore a white dress. My father walked me down the path. Ryan looked at me and smiled. That smile made me feel safe. That smile made me forget everything else. I thought we were starting our forever. After the wedding, we moved to the city. He found a small flat for us. I left my job and my town. I left my parents too. I wanted to build a new life with him. At first it was good. I cleaned the house and cooked meals. He came home late, but he always kissed my head. He said he was tired from work. I believed him. wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to take care of him. But after some weeks, things changed. He stopped talking to me. He looked at his phone all the time. He went to bed early and left for work without saying much. I asked him if something was wrong. He said no. I wanted to believe him, but my heart felt heavy. One night, he left his phone on the table. He went to take a shower. A message appeared on the screen. I did not want to look, but I did. The message said, "I still think of you every night." My hands began to shake. My face felt hot. I wanted to cry, but I did not say anything that night. The next day I asked him, "Ryan, is there something you want to tell me?" He looked at me for a second. Then he said, "No, Lily. Everything is fine." But I knew he was lying. I felt it deep inside. That night I waited for him to sleep. Then I opened his drawer. I wanted to see if there was something hidden. Inside, I found a photo. It was a picture of him with a girl I had never seen before. She had long hair and a red dress. She was holding his hand. They looked so happy together. I turned the photo over. There was a small note. It said, "Forever yours, Claire." My heart broke in that moment. I sat on the floor and cried. I did not make a sound. I just cried alone in the dark. I understood now. He loved her. Maybe he still did. Maybe he never really loved me. The next morning, I made breakfast like always. I put his coffee on the table. Then I asked, "Who is Claire?" He looked surprised. He stopped eating. Then he said, "She is from my past." I asked, "Do you still think about her?" He looked away and said nothing. That silence told me everything. I looked at him and asked one more question. "Did you marry me because you loved me?" He said, "I wanted to try. I wanted to forget her." I looked down at my plate. I could not eat. I could not speak. I felt like I was not real. I felt like I was just a shadow in his life. I went into the bedroom and closed the door. I sat on the bed for a long time. I looked at my wedding ring. I wanted to take it off, but my hands were shaking. I lay down and stared at the wall. I kept hearing his words again and again. I wanted to forget her. That was why he married me. I thought he was my forever. I thought I was special, but I was just someone he chose to help him forget another girl. My first love was never really mine, and I didn't know what to do next. Before I continue my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Sometimes I wonder if someone out there really understands me. Just knowing you're here gives me strength. I stayed in the bedroom all day. I didn't eat. I didn't open the curtains. I just lay there thinking. I looked at the wall. I looked at the floor. I didn't cry anymore. I was too tired to cry. My heart felt heavy, but my eyes were dry. I felt empty inside. Ryan didn't knock on the door. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't even try to talk to me. I waited for him to say something, but he stayed in the living room. He watched TV. He ate dinner alone. It was like I didn't exist. That night, I didn't sleep well. I kept waking up. I looked at the ceiling. I thought about the girl in the photo. Her name was Claire. She was still in his heart. I was his wife, but he didn't see me. He saw her. In the morning, I sat at the table. I waited for him to say something. He didn't. I asked, "Do you still love her?" He looked at me. His face was calm. Then he said, "I don't know." That answer hurt more than I thought it would. It was worse than a yes. It was worse than a no. I said, "You married me. You gave me a ring. You promised to love me." He looked down. "I tried," he said. "I wanted to start again. I thought I could move on." I asked, "So you used me?" He didn't answer. I stood up and went into the bedroom. I started packing my bag. My hands were shaking. My eyes were full of tears again. I didn't want to leave, but I couldn't stay. Not like this. Not in a house where love did not live. He came to the door. He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "To my parents' house." He said nothing more. He didn't ask me to stay. He didn't try to stop me. I waited for him to say something, but he just stood there. I closed the bag and walked to the door. I looked back one last time. I said, "I gave you everything, but it was not enough, because your heart was never mine." Then I left. The road home felt long. The train ride was quiet. I looked out the window. I saw people walking, talking, smiling. I felt like I was in a different world, a world where I didn't belong. When I reached my parents' house, my mother opened the door. She looked at my face and knew. She didn't ask questions. She just hugged me. I cried in her arms like a child. I cried for the girl who believed in love. I cried for the woman who was now broken. That night, I slept in my old room. Everything looked the same. The same bed, the same lamp, the same books on the shelf. But I was not the same girl. I was someone new. Someone who had loved and lost. Someone who had trusted and been hurt. In the morning, my father made tea. He placed the cup in front of me. He didn't say much, but his eyes were kind. My parents didn't push me. They gave me time. They gave me space. I needed that. I stayed with them for days. I walked in the garden. I helped my mother in the kitchen. I read old books and listened to the birds. These small things helped me breathe again. One afternoon, I found a letter on the table. It had no name on it. I opened it. It was from Ryan. He said, "I'm sorry, Lily. I was not ready. I thought I could love again. I thought I could forget her, but I was wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You are kind. You are strong. But I was not the man you needed. I hope one day you will forgive me. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it and put it away. I didn't know if I could forgive him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I knew I had to move forward. A week later, Sophie came to visit. She was my best friend. We had not talked in some time. When she saw me, she hugged me tight. She said, "You don't look like Lily." I laughed a little. "I don't feel like Lily," I said. We sat on the porch and talked. I told her everything, from the wedding to the photo, from the message to the silence. She listened without speaking. Then she said, "He didn't see your worth, but someone else will." I asked, "What if I never find love again?" She smiled. "Then you will still have yourself, and that is enough." Her words gave me hope. I started to go out more. I went for walks. I read books in the park. I watched the clouds and the birds. I took deep breaths. I didn't feel strong, but I was trying. One day, I walked past the school where I studied as a child. I saw a small group of children playing. They laughed so loudly. Their joy was simple. I sat on a bench and smiled. Life could still be sweet, even after pain. The next morning, I got a call from the cafe where I used to work. They said they needed help. I said yes. It was time to do something again. Something just for me. Working at the cafe felt good. I made coffee. I cleaned tables. I smiled at people. I talked to kind customers. One man came every morning. He always ordered the same tea. One day he asked, "Are you new here?" I said yes. He said, "You smile like someone who knows pain." I said nothing, but I looked at him. His eyes were soft. I smiled again. His name was Ben. He didn't talk much, but he listened well. We spoke a little more each day. He didn't ask about my past, and I didn't ask about his. We just talked about small things: music, rain, books, dreams. One afternoon, he left a note with his empty cup. It said, "You have a quiet light. Don't let it go out." I read that note many times. I didn't know what it meant, but it made me feel warm. I didn't fall in love again. Not yet. But I started to feel something new. Not fear. Not sadness. Just peace. And for now, that was enough. I went to the cafe every morning. I cleaned the tables and made drinks. I smiled at the people who came in. I said good morning and have a nice day. It was simple work, but I liked it. I felt calm there. Ben came, often. He sat in the corner near the window. He always brought a small book with him. Sometimes he read. Sometimes he looked outside. And sometimes He talked to me, not about deep things, just about life, the weather, a bird outside, the smell of tea, small things. One day I asked him, "Why do you come here every day?" He smiled and said, "Because it feels peaceful here." Then he looked at me and said, "And I think you do too." I didn't know what to say, but I smiled back. That was enough. Ben never asked about my past, and I didn't ask about his, but we both knew there were stories behind our quiet eyes. Maybe we didn't need to say everything. Maybe just being there was enough. One morning after work, he asked, "Do you want to go for a walk?" I said yes. We walked around the town. We passed the school, the park, and the small library. We didn't talk much, but it was not strange. The silence was soft. I liked that. After the walk, he said, "You look stronger now." I looked at him and said, "I feel different." He said, "Different can be good." I nodded. Maybe it was true. That night, I sat in my room and looked at my old wedding ring. It was in a box, hidden in a drawer. I opened the box and looked at it. It used to shine. It used to mean something. Now it was just metal. I closed the box and placed it back. I didn't cry this time. I just felt done. Some days later, I saw Ryan again. I was walking home from the shop. He was standing by his car. I didn't know he would be there. He looked at me and said, "Lily, can we talk?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "Okay." We sat on a bench near the trees. He looked different. His face looked tired. His eyes looked soft. He said, "I'm sorry for what I did to you." I said nothing. He went on, "I thought I could forget her. I thought you could help me heal. But I was not fair to you." I looked at him and asked, "Did you ever love me?" He took a long breath. Then he said, "I wanted to. I really tried. But maybe I loved the idea of love, not the person beside me. That hurt, but I needed to hear it. I said, I loved you with all my heart, but now I don't know if that was love. Maybe I just wanted it to be." He said, "You were kind. You were good to me. I didn't deserve you." I stood up and said, "You're right. You didn't." Then I walked away. I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel small. I felt clear, like a cloud had moved away from my heart. That evening, I met Ben at the cafe again. He looked at my face and asked, "Bad day?" I said, "No, just a true one." He smiled. "Sometimes truth is better than peace." I said, "Yes, even if it hurts." He didn't ask more, and I was thankful for that. Weeks passed. I worked. I walked. I laughed more. I watched the sky. I helped my mother in the kitchen again. I read books at night. I smiled when I saw my reflection in the window. I didn't feel lost anymore. Ben and I kept meeting. Slowly, I started to feel safe around him. He didn't rush me. He didn't want anything from me. He just showed up. Again and again. And that, to me, felt like something real. One day he said, "You don't have to speak if it hurts." I said, "It doesn't hurt like before." He smiled and said, "Good. You're learning to live again." I nodded. Yes. And it feels new. After many months, I felt ready to move on. I didn't know where life would take me, but I knew I wanted to grow. I wanted to try. I wanted to love again. Not someone else first, but me. One quiet evening, I sat on my bed. I looked out the window. The stars were bright. The world felt big, but not scary anymore. I whispered to myself, he was my first love, but I was never his, and that's okay now, because I am mine. If you liked my story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming soon.